Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the 30th episode of the Ohio Dirt Track Podcast. My name is Clint.
And I'm Jacob.
And we are on the heels of World Finals in Charlotte. I didn't get to make the trip, but Jacob was there. Jacob, did you have a good time?
Yeah, it was a good time. Sprint cars, late models, and the good kind of modifieds, the big block modifieds. There were probably close to 150 cars in the pits, if not over 150 cars. But obviously, I was there for the sprint cars. That was the main reason why I wanted to go. And obviously, we had the nice points battle between Brad Sweet and Donnie Schatz going into it. So Thursday night was just the qualifying nights for the sprint cars. They had a hot lap session, and then they went ahead and did 2 time trial sessions to determine the heat race lineups for Friday and Saturday. We ended up almost beating Mother Nature Thursday night, but she got the best of us, and they had to scrap late model qualifying for one of the days and a couple of the big block modified heats. So they just pushed the modified heats to Friday. Friday it was much colder. We must have brought the cold air down with us, but it was, like I said, it was cold, but again, we had some good racing. The feature was, I think there was some rubber down on the track, but it was still pretty entertaining. We had lots of good battles, and we saw David Raffles go ahead and take the penultimate win of the season, and Donnie Schatz closed the gap from 8 points to 2 points going into the final night. And then that led us to Saturday, where it was still bitterly cold, like Sprint Car World Championship cold. But it was more manageable. There wasn't as much wind. And so, but going into Saturday, like I said, there was 2 points between Brad and Donnie. And they were obviously pitted next to each other because that's how the Outlaws do it for World Finals, I think, is they pit everyone in order to points. So they were right next to each other all weekend long. At the end of the night, Brad knew exactly what he had to do, and that was finish ahead of Donnie. And there for a second, it looked like Donnie might be able to sneak past him, but Brad got right by. That was that. We got to see the Big Cat take home the 2019 World of Outlaws Sprint Car Championship.
Yeah, it was definitely it was a pretty exciting show, of what was going on Friday night, and then going into Saturday. I mean, they set the stage for a big finish. So 2 points separating them for the championship.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I hate that I missed it, man, but I'm glad you got to see it.
Yeah, it was. Charlotte's definitely a nice place. Nice, big, fast track, excellent facilities. I mean, I just wish it was a little warmer.
Well, we have a very exciting interview for us today. We talked about this one a couple of weeks ago, and I reached out to this individual, and he was very excited to come on. So we're going to jump right to it and get into our interview today. All right, we are on the phone with crew member from the number 17 NOS Energy Drink Sheldon Hanschild Sprint Car, Mr. Drew Brenner. Definitely the best dressed man at the 2019 World of Outlaws banquet. How are you doing today, Drew?
I'm doing pretty good. How about yourself?
I'm doing well, man. I appreciate you coming on. Thanks for joining Jacob and I here on the podcast. I got to ask the first question, brother. Where did you get those shoes, and where can I get myself a pair?
Actually, I actually got them on Amazon. I'm not sure what inspired me to get them, but I was just searching through Amazon, just kind of looking for some shoes, I guess, and I came across those, and I'm like, man, I gotta have those. So I have my favorite animal, all time, is a lion, and I have a lion tattoo, and I just have a big obsession with them. And I saw the lion head on the shoes, and I'm like, I gotta have those. And then when they showed up, they were like a velvet. I'm like, all right, these are awesome. These are better than I thought.
They were perfect, man. I was super impressed, and it meant that made me. I had another question because I was looking at those pictures, and I've thought this for several years. I mean, do you guys carry that what you're going to wear to the banquet with you in the hauler all year, or do you have it shipped to you? I mean, where does everybody come up with these clothes all of a sudden for the banquet?
Well, after Port Royal, we came back to Brownsburg, which is just outside of Indianapolis where our shop is. We also have a house here. So I had everything shipped to my house. And then after Port Royal, we came home before we left for Charlotte. So when I came home, I was able to, pick up my items that I had ordered or had that I had bought previously in the year. Like the coat that I wore, I bought that out in Sacramento and lugged it around all the way until we came back home, and then just left it at the house. But yeah, we, after Port came home and I picked all that stuff up and then just had it in the trailer until the end of the weekend.
So you say you came home. I know you came home to Ohio over your birthday weekend, and Orrville, Ohio is home. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yep. We got a few days off for the weekend. So, I came home and my birthday was on Halloween. So I was able to, spend my birthday with family and friends.
And you headed back out to Charlotte, and you guys had a good showing out there. Jacob and I were just talking about how cold it was, and that's probably a big transition when you're on the road going from east to west, and then you end it all in Charlotte where it's freezing. That have any effect on how you guys prepared for the weekend?
No, we just went into the weekend like we did any other weekend. Obviously, we packed our winter coats and long pants and thick socks. But no, didn't prepare any different. Just wore more clothing. It got pretty cold at night, though, I'll tell you that.
Saturday was a little more bearable, but Friday was definitely the worst night, I think.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, but working on the cars, you get to running around, and you wear those big winter coats, and then you got to shred them because like for myself, I started sweating. I'm like, well, I really don't want to sweat, and then it'd be cold, and then I get cold because the sweat's there, and so kind of had to be careful with how much I moved around, but it was all right.
I guess we'll backtrack quite a bit here, but Drew, how did you get started in sprint car racing?
So my old man, he used to take my brothers and sisters and I to races growing up. We'd go out to Eldora, Attica, Fremont, and then our hometown track, Wayne County Speedway. He'd take us to all those races when we were younger growing up. And obviously when Sheldon started racing, he was racing out at, Wayne County and Attica, and Fremont. So I kind of met Sheldon through, being at the track out at Wayne County. I went up to his trailer one night and he asked if I wanted to come to a party at his shop in Worcester there one night after a race. So I went out there, and pretty much from then on, Sheldon and I became friends. When Kyle Ripper was still helping Sheldon on the 93, I went to Attica with Ripper and Sheldon, and that was my first time ever being to a race that was, with a team. And at that time, I didn't know anything, about working on the race car. I was familiar with, the races themselves, but, not with a wrench in my hand. So it's pretty much from then on, I just kind of hung out with, Sheldon and Ripper, and then Ripper departed, and, Sheldon and I stayed friends and just kind of would hang out at his house. And then when Zach Ames and Bonsai came along, they taught me a lot. So it was through the years, I kind of learned more. But, with Sheldon and Ripper and Zach Ames and, Bonsai Bruns, they all kind of taught me, different things here and there. And then that turned into Sheldon asking me if I wanted to go, to more races with him when he was running the All-Stars, which kind of turned into a part-time deal, a full-time deal over the summer, and then part-time, whenever I could, because I was still in college and, I played college football, so during the fall season, races are Friday, Saturday, and I played football on Saturday. So, I wasn't able to, go to any races at that point. But, it all just kind of built up. And then as soon as I graduated college, I went on the World of Outlaw tour with Sheldon. That was 2017, which is when Sheldon was a rookie.
So where were you in college? Where'd you play football?
I played at Ashland University, the Division II school there in Ohio.
Okay. I wasn't aware of that. But I have to take a step back too and mention Jacob. He mentioned that shop again at Jack's house, and it comes up that's like 5 times on this podcast that's come up. I was hanging out at the shop at Jack's house.
It seems like the place to be sometimes.
I tell you what, when we were running back in Ohio, doing the All-Star deal and whatnot, and if we ran Wayne County, after the races, there'd be 100, 200 people who'd show up at the shop, and, we'd stay up till, crack of dawn hanging out and playing basketball in the shop and making bonfires and race go-karts on McCoy Speedway. Their shop's on McCoy Road, so they had, the McCoy Speedway in the backyard, which was always a good time.
That and that's every time that it comes up, we talk to Schaefer about it, and I think even Donnie mentioned it when he was on the show. But that community, that racing community, is one of the reasons that when I called Jacob a couple of weeks ago and I said I think I want to get Drew on, because I see Drew on Dirtvision just as much as I see most of these drivers who are leading the laps, and this community that you're in, you're a shining example of that. So to lead into that, I want to ask, like, what's it like when somebody pulls in the pits? I'll give you a specific example. About 3 or 4 weekends ago, I think it was Kinzer came in, and you were the first person to the car. And then about 10 laps later, I can't remember if it was somebody else came in, and then you were again the first person to the car. And it's like, that's not even his car, but he's always on somebody else's car. What's the thought process there, man? You just jump and run?
Yeah, pretty much. So, for myself, like I'm a big competitive guy, and that's part of the reason why I'm with Sheldon, because I know he's competitive, and he's always trying to do his best and whatnot, and playing college football, and even sports growing up, I was always the most competitive person out there, and watching Sheldon compete, that's given me a competitive side to it. But then if I can go in the work area and be competitive to, try and help someone else get their car back out on the track as if it was my own, like, I get a big rush out of that. And, I find a lot of joy in that. And, most of the drivers and crew guys, I've made friends with over the years. And if I can, go out there and help them try to get their car back out on the track, that's what it's all about. You don't just see, just myself out there with the crew. You got, the KKR guys or, JJR guys, whoever it may be. Everybody kind of jumps in, but, I'm, I guess I'm the fastest crew guy in the pit area, if you want to go from that angle. So I guess I beat them all there. But no, I have fun with it. I love the sport, and, if I can see other guys get back out on the track so they don't, DNF or, finish at the back of the field, have them try and work their way back up through the field. I get a big kick out of that.
So when the car rolls in and you guys all jump in, I think I was texting Jacob that night. I think I counted 5 or 6 different members from 5 or 6 different crews working on Kinzer's car. And is it just, when you're thrashing like that, is it mass chaos, or, what goes into changing a front end in 2.5 minutes?
Well, I don't know. It's like pretty much wherever anybody kneels down in front of the car, that's the part that you're going to take off, and you're going to, be responsible for that. So if you get, 5 or 6 guys in there, each guy gets a part, they can all zap them off at the same time. And then, if you get a bent front end or a bent arm or something, then it makes it a little more difficult, because, you got to try and wiggle the front end out of there. But, everybody kind of just tackles a task, while they're in the work area, with a front end or a front wing or a top wing, whatever it may be. we all just kind of work together. You know, we don't forget